Ethan's the hero of the book.
I need to get a copy of that.
That would be, it's here. You just have to love me. Why don't I send you a copy?
Perfect.
Can
That would be amazing.
While we do, we're streaming, never mind.
So put your book up for the live stream.
Okay.
So everybody can see it.
You just have to love me.
Okay, I think we're live, y'all. We are on Facebook. We did it. Awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Thanks for teeing that up, Mira.
Yeah. So, well, welcome. Do you want to kick us off first?
Sure. Yeah, so welcome everyone who's joining on Facebook, and Heidi, good to have you here. Mira and I wanted to drop in today, invite a few folks to be in the question around the Sacred Money Quest that Mira and I are co-convening. This has been inspired by, gosh, what's it been, a 4 or 5 month long inquiry now, Mira, that we've been in around emerging economies and regenerative economies, future of work, sacred alignment, kind of soulpreneurship, soul entrepreneurship, and really, being in the question of what does it look like to live into our fullest creative potential, our fullest alignment, our highest expression, and to live out in the unknown, the possibility of who we are and who we're becoming. And so, my favorite thing about these invitations is that we're in this individuation process of becoming the most raw and true and unique expression of ourselves as forms of consciousness. And then being able to do that in a collective, doing that together while all of us are individuating is terribly exciting for me. I just find that so fun to have. It's like the most individual experience is the most collective experience we can have, because all of life is doing that, becoming the most true and full and beautiful expression of the truth of what we all are. So that's a little bit of what's got me excited and energized to be here today. How about you, Mira?
Yeah, amazing. Well, I love what you were saying about the truth of our being. And I feel like Heidi and anyone else listening and anyone that chooses to come on a journey with Forrest and I feel like it is about being with the truth, like the truth of our being so beautiful and magnificent, but all of the shadows and fears and inauthenticities or hiding or, old stories, anything that kind of shows up that keeps us from the truth of our being is like, I think what we're out to like be with, discover, let emerge, share, be witnessed in. And, the path to our financial freedom can seem so externalized. And so I think what's so potent about the conversations we'll be having is it's full self-ownership of coming to the truth of the matter. So yeah, so in a way, I feel like today could be like a little bit, Forrest and I have talked about perhaps having this conversation, whether it happens every month or every week or something, but having the spirit of like kind of like a truth dojo, like and getting to be like safe and laugh as we discover the truth that we maybe didn't see even like 5 minutes before. And then really relating this to our financial life, like to our offerings to the world, to how we're showing up in exchange with people. And like Heidi, something you talked about in the creation codes the other day is like us really bringing that down to the ground level and it making and us actually experiencing like the dramatic shifts in our physical natural life. So I think that's, we'll talk a little bit later probably about the arc of the quest that we'll be offering, that will be a month-long journey. But I think that's some of the foundation. Yeah. So, well, today I think there's value in us talking and having lots to say. But I think it would be really amazing to just be in an emergent live exploration ourselves. and be with fully who's here and what's alive. So if you're up for it, Heidi, and perhaps we have Lexington joining us. I don't know if I know. Do you know Lexington for us?
Yeah. She just
Okay.
messaged me and said she can join on video in a second. Hi, Lexington. Excited to have you with us in a second. And yeah, Mira, to your invitation, Heidi and Lexington, when you're able, like I said, we're wandering into a possibility here. So for me, what I'd love to do is just invite this discussion, and we can just see what emerges with and through us together. So Heidi, I'd love to hear just how what we're sharing is landing with you, and what's alive in you, and is bringing you energy in these questions.
I'm actually in astonishment that the universe has brought me this at this moment. I'm like, what? I popped into a Zoom room and this is the conversation. Like it's, I don't know, like living a little miracle here. Yeah, just the synchronicity of it is extraordinary. I would say because I am in that inquiry, and I am, as you just said so beautifully, a lot of me, I'd like to say, 20%, I would say probably 95% of me experiences the search for abundance as external. And even though I'm learning and my awareness is expanding and I'm beginning to get a glimpse, it's an inner job, not so much, and yet the habit is so strong and ingrained, the pattern of it's outside, and it's about my, it's linked to a not good enough story, of I never figured it out, or I can't, or, whatever. And so I'm very interested in it not being only an external path. And part of it is, it's what you alluded to before, Mira, that I had said that I don't want, full disclosure, I don't want more insight that's going to stop. Like, I don't want, oh, now I see, that's nice, that's really interesting, and life looks the same. And and it still feels externalized. Oh, I see my money story, my father's story, the unfulfilled potential story, the unfulfilled genius story, the woulda, coulda, shoulda invested in Polaroid story, these old stories. Is that what is happening that is a block to what's possible? And I know probably virtually all people have some sort of a money story in some way. Is that what's happening, or is that BS? So I hear about a program and I'm intrigued, because when I get out of my own way, I have a glimpse of, oh my, why not me? Why, the law, it's the natural order. Abundance is the natural order. How many cells of our bodies, leaves of trees and grains of sand, abundance, abundance, abundance. Nature, God is all about abundance. The atoms, let's start counting. Like, and why can't I have a bank account that reflects that? And so where's my disconnect? So I feel like I've looked at this and it stops. And then it's like, oh yeah, there's a story. And I don't see my way out of the loop.
Wow. Yeah.
And it makes me frightened and less than, and I lose hope that that there's a way out of the loop.
Wow.
And I feel myself wanting to defend against whatever you're going to say to me now.
Mm.
Because who will I be without this story?
Wow. Oh my
Mm.
goodness.
So beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm. Quick hi, Hardy.
Wow.
Lexington, good to see you. Heidi, first of all, I just want to acknowledge you for such a beautiful, heartfelt share. I experienced you as just so like raw and real and pouring through so beautifully as you're sharing what's alive in you. You know, and what came up for me so strongly as you were saying is I've been in this question around. Mira and I often talk about two of the energies, I guess, of action and then also receiving. And for me, so much of the conversation around abundance right now is action oriented, like goals and manifestations and vision boards and affirmation. And there's very action oriented kind of abundance things. And as you were saying it, I just got curious about like, what's it like to just open up and receive the abundance of life, to receive the abundance of our life experience, all the abundance of love, right, that I'm feeling right now, pouring through each of you in this call, the fullness of my life experience in all the colors and textures and shapes and sounds and flavors, and my capacity to open up and receive the abundance of my experience, and the distinction between like action and agency, and then the receiving side of it. So for me, I was getting really curious. It almost seemed like there was this question of what do I need to do, right? And so then that to me is action. And so I got curious on the receiving side of like, what about just opening up and receiving the abundance that is? And then I'll pause there. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you know, that feels very true and masculine, you know, wanting to act and go that way and do it. And I do conflate taking action around finances and money and abundance with action and the masculine, whereas receiving is the feminine flow. And I'm like, you know, while of course I know, like in my head, give receive, the natural cycle. Without one you don't have the other. And yet in the receiving, oh, that's not doing. And be careful. If you're receiving, you're not doing. And if you're not doing, you're not going to create the cause that will have the effect that you want. That is receiving a cause. Is receiving going to create, or is receiving that receiving? And part of being open and willing to receive, and I feel this as I'm saying it, which is interesting, is, am I worthy to receive? Because otherwise, if I'm receiving without working for it, and if I'm receiving without being worthy for it, I'm a thief. I'm taking what does not belong to me, which doesn't feel good. And I will push away that flow. I will push away what is being poured into me if I feel, wait, it's not mine, and wait, and whose is it? And and I'm gonna have to give it back. And who should I give it to? And it's not, if it's not mine. And that's the scarcity, and that's not full nature, abundance. There's a plenty for all, you know, but that's what came up for me when you said that about receiving. Being open to receive is clearly is part of this.
Well, I'm just like raising both my hands here because that resonates with me in my experience and my previous experience. I don't know if anybody else resonates with that at all, but I'm sort of like, yeah. And it's interesting for me because you asked the question of who would I be without this story, and it sounds like the abundance that's coming in more in alignment with nature, in your true nature, isn't in alignment with the story that you're unworthy. And so when you ask who would I be without my story, it's like if
I'd be worthy.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Thank you. You put the pieces together. You connected the dots. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's for me it's like the story for me. I find oftentimes stories I have that aren't in alignment with truth, they're too small to hold the truth of what we are, right? Stories are too small to hold the truth of what we are,
Oh, I love that.
you know? And so as we're wandering in more fully to the truth of who we are, often we find more and more stories that we've been holding on to subconsciously that have been playing out in our life dynamic the entire time, but we might not necessarily have been aware of. And so then as we surrender into that, that can be our liberation into more fully embodying and living out our fullest potential. So I invite that because I'm living it. I have not figured that out. That is my experience in this moment.
Well, and the story can house, hold, contain truth.
Mhm.
So it's not story per se, it's what story. The
Mm,
story can be as large as I choose to make it.
mm,
You know, the story of Let There Be Light will unfold exponentially
mm,
from the beginning.
mm. That's beautiful. Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. That was so beautiful. One piece I would just add that I really heard when you were sharing that this might be fun for all of us is like, I heard you basically saying like, I want to step out of like the wheel of samsara of like these financial stories, like the loop, like of like one, like this loop that we're in that just keeps going. Like, how do we step out of it?
Yeah. Out.
Like, okay, now I'm on another track. And like, how do we like complete it fully? Such, I mean, as a life practice or whatnot, but like, I just saw like, oh, wow, I feel like a theme of the way that I sense Forrest and I want to explore this with people and take on this journey. It's like stepping out of the wheel of our financial samsaras. And that's the cycles of lives and deaths and narratives and blah, 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 blah. Like, how do we step out of that fully?
What is that word? I'm going to write that down. Samsara?
Yeah, it's SAMSARA. And it's in a lot of Eastern traditions and philosophies, how they view like we keep living through the wheel of samsara until you step out of it. Like you keep having lifetimes and life experiences and you keep repeating it until you complete like what there is to learn or know. And that's really what, so many Buddhist monks and pretty much all the Eastern traditions, a main point of focus of this path to enlightenment is to step beyond that.
Yeah.
So, and then I just wanted to acknowledge and just be in witness to your process of wanting to step out of your identity and being like, but wait, who would I be without that? And just honor that true, real, like human fear we all have of like that void. Like what is that? Who am I then? What is that space? And
Yeah.
so you went through such a beautiful journey just now in stepping into who you really discovering who you are when some of that goes. And yeah, I just honor that we have that going on inside of us like all day, like resisting that. At least I do, like resisting, like if I don't, like not knowing that I'm tied to an identity and I'm valuing it and identifying with it. And I think it's who I am and it's serving me and I need it and I'm defending it. Like just to have that space and a breath of like, wait, if I let that go and let myself feel the edge of that, fear and exhilaration
Mm.
of what that is on that edge. And, you know, edges, if we look at like a ecosystem, even like a regenerative ecosystem specifically, like the edges of anything is where all abundance, the most fertile abundance parts of a landscape exist. So like where the wave hits the shore, or where like different you know, parts of a farm like land meet each other, there's these places where there's just a little bit of overlap of like the manifest and unmanifest, of form, of formless, of like this type of soil, of that type of soil, of water, of earth. That's they're called like abundant layers. I'll have to look up the exact term, but that's where the richness in any ecosystem exists. So I'm seeing that we all kind of embody that in the way we can like move about a day by harvesting some of those edges in a way that feels like appropriate, and then kind of coming back in.
Wow. I love that. Edges. So many edges.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, welcome Lexington and Hardy. Hello, what is feeling alive? What's alive for you, Lexington? What had you join us today?
To kick off.
Lexington, we're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you.
Is this any better?
That's way better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oof, no, hold on. Sorry, hold. One sec. Putting my headphones up. Is
Perfect.
that any better?
Way
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like having trouble hearing you guys now.
Oh, no.
Okay, there we go. That should be better. So I am about to kick off like a marketing campaign for a new health coaching business, and I've never done anything in like the freelance world, I guess. Like I've always been on like payroll, so it feels very edgy to me to be like, yes, pay me this money directly because I deserve it. And especially as somebody who's like always been very skeptical of coaching, and very like, unless you have a proven track record of being the absolute best, why should I give my money to you? So it feels almost hypocritical for me to ask people to pay me. So yeah, obviously like I have to get over that though. Otherwise I'm not going to make a living doing this. So that's why I was
What did you
interested.
say? Can you say again why it felt hypocritical?
Because like my personal beliefs about coaching have always been I can do things on my own, and unless you have like a proven track record of being the very best out there, why should I even why should I spend the money on it, right? So it feels like I don't even know how to approach somebody who was like that, even though that was me, right? And I mean, realistically, okay, that's not going to be my like goal client, but it still just feels like I have like that resistance. Because like I know what anytime I like think about putting something together, like I'm like thinking about like what my reaction would be, and it's not positive. But if I want to help people and I want to make a living doing that, I have to like get over that story.
Got it. Well, how shall we explore this? Do you want to explore it further, or what? It sounds like you're already coaching yourself through this.
Yeah, I tend to do.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, Lexington, is like you're saying, okay, previously I'm looking at coaches and going, if you're not the best at this ever, I'm not going to purchase your coaching. And now you're like, well, I'm turning around and ready to be a coach, but I don't feel like I'm the best ever at what I'm doing. So why is anybody going to pay me?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
I do think I will be good at it, but I don't have like the years of experience that other people do.
So tell me about the being good at it part. What do you you're saying you feel like you're going to be good at it. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. Putting me on the spot. Okay. I think that I have spent a lot of time researching and trying things out myself. And I think that in my entire life, like I sit here and like coach myself through all like my whole day, right? I do that with friends. I am very like introspective and able to like look at situations and see them in a different light, and being encouraging and uplifting, but like also realistic, and being like, people run into roadblocks, right? And like inspiration only takes them so far. Sometimes like you need like practical methods to get through things. And there is like a spiritual and mental, emotional aspect of those things. And I think that based on what I have done so far and have the people I've worked with, I am able to help facilitate like positive changes that are very important in people's lives and like impactful, etc. So yeah, I think this is a good move for me, and I do think I can help people. And I just know how skeptical I am of things like that. So it's, yeah. And I've never really had to directly like ask for money, you know. I studied a really great major and I got a great job and they paid me every 2 weeks, right? Like, so it just feels different.
Yeah.
Well, if I could jump in, what feels alive. So I'm really tuning into the group conversation we're in and how it wants to inform what any of us are bringing up, and also just kind of what some of the themes are. And so Lexington, it has me really curious, like if you were to look at this just in the space of like edges, like if we're like, okay, like the path of abundance is about like expansion, like an expanding into our edges. We had this theme with Heidi and the kind of the ecosystem I was pointing out, like the edges where like when you started to talk about maybe asking for money or different things, like where do you feel like your edge is that this is really about? Because we could spend time, and Forrest and I would be super happy to, and there's lots of places where we could coach your beliefs in this and we could go through all the things. But at the end of the day, what is the edge that's there for you that you're being faced to look at and to possibly step into?
I mean, if I'm understanding the question correctly, I think it's really just about, like, I can sit here and say, I think I'm going to be good at this, or like, I know I'm good at this, but I am scared of working with somebody and then them not thinking that I was worth their money.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, so so true. The truth just feels so valuable. Like, not that that's true, the truth that you're experiencing that, like you just naming that. So great. So that's there. So that's there as a concern or a limiting, belief or whatnot.
And
So
you're so not alone in that. Like, oh my gosh.
it's like a theme. We're kind of all tuning into where not enoughness shows up. Yeah, totally.
Different color, a different shade of the same color.
Yeah. So thank you, Lexington, for being vulnerable and just like saying it, like, okay, maybe it's this. Like, so what would it look like for you to lean into that? Lean into that edge and discover for yourself what's actually so.
I don't think I understand the question.
So you have this concern, right? That perhaps if you showed up and you did this coaching, like someone might not find it valuable, or you might not be good enough at it, or they might not find it worth it to pay you for what you offered. So does that have you stopped from showing up and being of service?
Yeah. It like makes me not even want to like put myself out there, for sure.
Yeah. Well, what does the group think? Well, we're gonna keep going. What does anyone else have anything they'd like to share with Lexington?
We're pick the most accomplished person you could ever imagine, Lexington, and they started somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't start out, Jeff Bezos did not start out, you know, 127 billion with a B, billion dollars. You know, everyone starts somewhere. And, you know, and it's more, not so much what you've done as much as who you are. And the person you're meant, you know, the definition of an expert is someone who knows more than you do. So it doesn't mean you have your PhD in your subject. It means you know your stuff. And when you're with another human being and you have a sense of how to help them and move a step forward and meet their need, and they feel cared about by you and seen and heard and understood, and you give them hope that they can be helped, it doesn't matter if you have your PhD in it, if they feel that you are the human being who's going to guide them through a hard thing. And your energy is so delicious, and you're going to, you will pull in, and that is how the universe works, is that the person who needs you is going to find you, and they need you and not the PhD. They need you. And if you hold back, they're waiting for you and they're not going to find you, because where are you? You're hiding from them. And you're not serving the people who need you if you go into, you know, the fear thing about not good enough or I'm not ready. And beware that, because that's perfectionism, and that will cut you off and stop you, and you'll be 100 years old, God forbid, sitting here saying, well, but wait, I don't know yet. Wait, I don't know. Wait, there's another class to take. So, you know, you're amazing, you're ready, and the person that you're meant to help, the people you're meant to help, are waiting for you to use your voice to be found.
Thank you, Heidi. That was really kind of you.
Thank you. Well, it's true. It's
Kind and true. Yes.
How about you, Hardy?
Really nice to meet you, Lexington, and to hear your heart. What's coming to my mind is it possible to break some of the components of what you're offering into almost an a la carte, where you kind of lab test the deliverable of when you provide this service, you know, and kind of take it a piece at a time and see which of those components of what you are offering, which one of those takes off like a rocket, and maybe assume that some won't, you know. And it's okay, because it's a learning curve for you, and it's and you're offering something to some. It's not an all or nothing kind of thing, and maybe even lab test it, if you haven't already, with some of your friends or acquaintances, where, you know, can I have an hour of your time where I kind of make my spiel, and I'm coaching you on this particular theme, and was that helpful to you? You may have already done that, I don't know, but then it might kind of make the faith gap a little more manageable than a deep dive into, oh no, this is going to be a total flop or a total win, and I'm just going to throw myself into it. But I totally resonate with what you're coming forward with. I mean, I worked for a consulting firm for a short period of time that charged, and this was back in the 1980s, that charged $500 a day for their services. And so I put in a few of those days, and everything inside of me was fighting the fact that I'm not worth $500 a day to anybody, you know. And you know, it didn't turn out to be my long-term vocation or anything, but I was glad I took the dive, and I had some good days with some clients, and it was good for them and it was good for me. But it was extremely stressful thinking about, am I worth this? Um, and so that's kind of, those are some of the off the top thoughts that I have, you know. Uh, but there's obviously something in your soul, and what your soul is on fire about will draw people to you. It because you are, in that sense, the best at who you are and what you do, because there is no other soul like you, and no other soul that is going to deliver quite like you, nor what you are going to deliver. And that will be attractive to people, and people will see that, desire it, want it, and even beg for it. And I can see you coming to the point where you love it so much because it's you, that you would say, I would do this for nothing, because I just love to do it so much. And I think this is all part of the journey, of pushing through some of those uh, obstacles along the way.
Thank you, Hardy. Thanks for sharing your experiences and
Mm.
your words. Yeah, I don't think a la carte is something that I will be offering very much, just because I'm doing like health and lifestyle change, and that takes a long time. So I feel that if somebody, at least like in my like getting coached experience, and what I've heard from a lot of people, is that like week 3, 4, you're kind of like, those are like the hard weeks, and you haven't quite started seeing like the real changes yet. Like that comes around like closer to week 8. So if you like let people just like pay you week by week, like they're probably gonna dip, and like then you'll never really be effective, because like it's just like how human behavior works.
Yeah.
That you need more than like 1 hour once a week every blue moon to like actually affect change, right?
Yeah.
But I have done some like work with friends and people to like kind of test the waters.
Yeah.
So like that's the only way I like even have like confidence at all to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate the encouragement about being like, oh, like, your energy and like what sets your soul on fire will attract the people who need me. And then Heidi said something similar to that too. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Heidi and Hardy, for your contribution. I want to just add to what contribute to what Hardy was saying, and for you, Lexington, is like there is such value in a hybrid, like more integral approach. I find in like this coming from these deeper truths that we know of and we've each touched on in this conversation, of like the truth of who we are, but like kind of laddering it into our life in some way is really what I'm kind of hearing inside of what Hardy was sharing too. Like, and like you said, you've been testing the waters and coaching with some friends, and how much you see that's been building your confidence. So I just find any ways that we can just be doing it and starting it without feeling like it has to be a year-long thing or a full life commitment or but like, what are those bite-sized pieces so that we're in action, and that dance of acting and receiving, like we're on the court playing and the universe is giving us feedback and people have the opportunity to show up, and then it's like a snowball, and then it can grow and more can happen. So I would be excited to see like if there are opportunities like that, maybe if it's not a la carte or whatever, but if there's ways that you can take the leap where you don't feel like you're always jumping off, a 200, a huge cliff or something.
A huge chunk of life. Yeah, that's a thought I will absolutely explore.
Yeah.
Another thought that comes to mind is just, do you feel very alone in this, or is there is there a partner? Is there someone that you feel aligned with, that you would go into this together with,
Mm.
and have the benefit of some of the solo part of the pressure being a
Yeah.
little lighter? I don't know if that's a possibility, or even a team, I don't know.
Mhm.
Uh, or
Yeah,
maybe
that is,
this is your time to make the move. I would never want to discourage that by any
yeah.
means.
No, that's smart. Because I do feel like it's definitely like a solo endeavor right now, and I've been noticing that's like I don't work great like that. So yeah, that's actually like a brilliant
Uh-huh.
thought to explore. I'm not sure where, because I've been thinking about it recently, and I'm just like not really sure like exactly where to take it, because I know I don't want to go like work for somebody else, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess maybe like, yeah, I don't know somebody who I feel aligned with enough to like work on things like really together.
That's beautiful, Lexington. And actually, that's what's deeply inspiring this inquiry that Mira and I are inviting around sacred alignment, because the questions we're inviting are like, what actually brings your highest excitement? And the more that we unfold into that and let go of all the things that either aren't for us or aren't for us right now, and kind of allow other people to take those on. Like, hey, maybe for me, like I need a website and I just don't have energy for that. Well, the universe might be trying to bring someone into the fold who like their highest excitement is creating websites that serve like soul entrepreneurs and doing work. Like I meet those people, I know those people, right? And so it's like, for me, this inquiry around, okay, what really is calling me? What's my highest unfolding? What sets my soul on fire, to use the language of the group? And then how can that calibrate with life in the moment, and how can the universe respond to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's I'm just excited by what you're sharing of like, yeah, like how do I step into this? And like, yeah, I know you're no stranger to teams with cheerleading and everything, but it's like, how do I really step more fully into my what sets my soul on fire, and what my passion is, and really where my like soul wants to go, and allow like life to respond to that and to recalibrate itself based on that. So I just
Yeah.
really appreciate that question, you're in.
I always love like the language you use is so different than like any thought patterns I have. It's like very interesting, like hearing you speak. I always enjoy it. Because I would never be like, oh, let me like allow the universe to bring something into my life. I'm like, how do I find it? Gotta Google it.
gotta Google it.
I know Forrest is, and Mira, both extremely articulate. I agree, Lexington. I love listening to both of them speak. It's like poetry. So just everyday poetry. I just want to echo that I think Hardy is and Forrest also touched on it. Really critical is community in this. Most of us are not at our best when we're isolated. It's nice to go alone and deep, and that's important. And it's really important to have support and like-minded people, and people to be a sounding board, and listening and feedback and guidance, and just companionship when you're dealing with different things. And so I would just invite you, like there are many groups of young people starting out, entrepreneurs, and there are Facebook groups, there are coaches, there are organizations and networking, small business whatever is out there, just whatever resonates for you as people who are more like you, heart-centered, you know, people, you'll find them, and then you'll feel home. You're home because then you can breathe and you can ask your questions, you can let your hair down, and you can ask everything that you think is a dumb question, which isn't a dumb question. It's just a beginner's question, and that's beautiful and perfect. And that's where amazing things happen in a beginner's mind. And, you know, that's where beautiful things begin without judgment. So as long as, you know, I'm hearing like avoid the pitfall as a beginner, have compassion for the beginner, have patience for the beginner. Don't judge her. She's not good. She's not good enough because she's not good yet, or she doesn't know this yet. You know, that minimizes all that you do know and all that you can help. And so just love that beginner in you, because it's a very special, beautiful, powerful place to be, you know. So don't judge that. It's actually a superpower right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The last thing I'll say, Lexington, is it looks like you got a couple of comments in the live stream with some other invitations. So I just invite you to check that out after we're done also.
Okay.
Seems like there's more to explore there. So thank you so much for sharing and your courage in being so real and tender. And I'm just so excited to know you and continue to witness you in everything you're up to.
Thank you, Forrest.
Yeah.
Excited for you too.
Well, we were thinking we'd probably be on, we have about 10 minutes left. And in that time, I'd love to, Hardy, I don't know if there's anything alive for you that you want to presence to be with in this exploration. And then we can also share a little bit more about what our invitation is, how to continue these conversations.
Yeah, well, really very, very similar to what Lexington has shared. And Heidi, I'm sorry, I only came halfway into your sharing, and so I can't really summarize and speak to it. I mean, my particular scenario is that I was functioning in a fairly conventional faith community leadership role. And, you know, that faith community has a mechanism of funding flowing in through the generosity of committed people, and that pays the salary of a person like me. Well, we decided about a year ago to shift our paradigm from a congregation or parish centered approach to just throwing ourselves right out into the community and enhancing neighboring and the support and the services and the interest groups, whether they're book clubs or recreational offerings or all the different ways that we would be supportive of people connecting with each other and learning things together and collaborating to make things better in the neighborhood and in the community, etc. And so essentially, we're creating a community cultural hub. And so the funding question is, what is the most effective business model for a sustainable community cultural hub? You know, it's no longer going to rely on a few people who are going to pay the executive director's salary. How can you do with and for a community the very things that that community wants and needs, and at the same time make it financially sustainable? And so I have about a year to figure that out. You know, my salary is intact right now, but it's kind of a year-to-year thing, which has the expectation attached to it that you're going to figure out a way for the community to benefit from all these things, but also to pay for all these things. You know, does that mean that you have a membership subscription kind of scenario where the people who will have the advantage of, let's say, some of the best mental health experts giving a web talk on depression or anxiety, or you may have 10 other areas of interest or need that you want to tap into, and we're going to charge you $10 a year to be a member of this cultural hub dynamic? Or are you going to depend almost entirely on government grants, and or are you going to depend on business leaders who are willing and so eager to see this thing happen that they're, you know, putting in their thousands of dollars on a yearly basis? You know, what are the pieces going to be that will result in a sustainable community cultural hub in the geographic area that we are working in? And it, at the core, brings in all the same questions that Lexington is asking. Are we worth, by what we're producing and delivering, are we worth the gifting and the membership fees that are attached to what it is that we're involved with and providing? So Lexington, I want you to figure this out for me now.
Wow.
No pressure.
Yeah, sounds like a lot, but
Yeah.
also exciting.
Very exciting, because I mean, I totally believe that what we are doing is good for everyone.
Mhm.
And, you know, and how does the money flow through a dynamic like that, you know?
Mhm.
I'm so glad you brought this up, Hardy, and I hope that we can have this be an ongoing thread in a group conversation, because this really is so much of what we're all exploring on a micro and individual level and on a systems ecosystem level.
Right.
So this is so much an exploration I'm in as well, of growing the quantum money movement, of growing this new ecosystem, of being a part of a new financial paradigm. Like, how do the resources flow? Where are the contributions coming from? What does the exchanges look like? What are the different parts of the garden?
Yeah.
So I'm exploring this deeply and intimately. So thank you for presencing it. And I would invite us, you know, if there are any other comments on it now, but I'd love to like intentionally keep exploring and talking about that together.
Sure.
Yeah, Hardy, please bring this inquiry into our journey. I love the question. I'm in the same one in 3 or 4 different communities right now. And I'll just briefly say, for me, as you were listing different options, to me, it's not an either or, it's a both and. And Mira mentioned a garden. I love seeing these ecosystems and communities as living organisms, as ecosystems where we can thrive, and really asking, for me, like looking to the wisdom of nature and saying like, okay, anything in nature that's how does nature inform the community that we're inviting, and how does nature inform, like, how does energy move in nature that can inform how money wants to move through our ecosystem?
Yes. Mm.
And I love the question you're in. I'm in the same one. I won't claim to have any of the answers, and I really look forward to being in the questions together.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't we begin to wrap up? Forrest, would you be willing to share just a beginning of kind of what our invitation is, and then I'll add on to it some of the integration and tangible pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe while I'm starting, if you have the link to the webpage, drop that in the chat. Perfect. Yeah. So, you know, today's just kind of been a model of what we're inviting people into is Hardy brought on a more systems and community and collective perspective questions that around how can the wisdom of nature inform ecosystems that we're cultivating, to which human beings can be happy and healthy and thrive and live into our fullest potential. And Lexington and Heidi really bringing some amazing questions around what stories do we need to surrender, what identities aren't going to make the trip, and stories need to be surrendered, and how can we get into our fullest sacred alignment and living into our highest expression, and what life is really trying to have unfold with and through us, right, as individuals and in relationship to others within larger systems that we're playing in. And so we're inviting a 4-week journey to explore this together in an emergent container. Today's a preview of what we're inviting, just being together in these questions and convening a space where we can show up and we are our content, right? Our life experiences, the questions we're in, the ways that we're being with our experience, and what we balancing like our stories and meaning making systems with our state of being, and doing that in a way where we can share perspectives with each other and share wisdom and insight and encouragement, and just be in a safe space where we can risk it and really just show up fully and share what's on our heart. So yeah, that's we're inviting a 4-week journey to be in the mystery together and kind of dance in possibility. And we've got 2 price points for it. One if you're coming by yourself, and one if you're bringing a friend. And the one for yourself is $333, and then 2 together is $444. So that feels complete to me. Mira, how about you? Anything you want to add or reframe?
Yeah, I would just add, all potent quests have some key pillars to it. And I'd say inside of this container, there are some pillars of, really starting with a level of honesty as to where we are, like where we're at now, and then moving and naturally allowing whatever wants to be seen that had been unseen, whether it's a shadow or some part of ourself we hadn't recognized yet, or a part of ourself we had been walling off or ignoring. So there'll be that opening, and it's in these shadows, right? And in these parts that we haven't yet included and recognized as part of our wholeness, where we can access all that potential and possibility. So that will be like the belly of the arc, like the middle 2 sessions, and then really coming out and bringing the integration in the end, and really integrating it, right? Like any ceremony, any quest is only as fruitful as its integration. Otherwise, it's just another beautiful peak experience, which is great. But I'm a real stand for like, let's make the ceremony and the quest and what we harvested relevant. And how will it be relevant? And that happens in integration and in community and in conversation and in its application to our lives. So I really see the integration and this becoming the beginning of really building community. So we haven't created this part yet because it's emergent, but I have a real sense that these will be quests that we'll be hosting, and those that come through it, well, there'll be an ongoing community conversation to integrate this. Like I see this as sort of a initiation into a way of being and into the larger collective conversation. So we would like to create that together, like with you all. I hope that the 3 of you feel drawn to be on this journey with us. Because we see this being something that we're co-creating, how it lives on, and how as a like abundant field, it continues to nurture us and inform us, and we can continue integrating. So in a sense, it's like a deep kickoff. It's basically like opening the door and saying yes to 2021. I am going to intentionally go on this quest of bringing my financial wholeness into my life, like into my actual everyday practical life, like how I'm showing up on the planet, like bringing the mountaintop back down to the ground. So, and I have to add, I'm living here in Mount Shasta on a sacred mountain. And so the image actually that Forrest and I have used, that I put as kind of the image of this quest, is Mount Shasta here. We went together actually to the top of the mountain, and it's activating. It's, you know, so I will say, like, I'm committed to this quest and being informed by kind of the time we're in now, and that this can be, yeah, it's just it's a potent time for whatever you're looking for. You'll find.
Um, and Forrest, is this kind of an offshoot of the larger collective that runs parallel to it, or is it two very separate entities? And when I came on the call, I wasn't sure if this was the larger, same as what is going to be the Friday gathering, or is this an offshoot of that? If you can just clarify my confusion on that.
Yeah, thanks, Hardy. This is a collaborative inquiry that Mira and I are inviting. We both have kind of our own communities that we convene, and we're coming together to offer this as a
Gotcha.
co-convening opportunity. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know Mira's got her Friday offerings continue to be available on, I believe, Clubhouse though, Mira, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is, there's the Quantum Money Collective, and my community is called Emerging Being. And
Okay.
we're coming together to offer this together.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's very clarifying. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for your question.
Awesome. Well, I put the link in the chat if you would like to sign up. And we also invite you, we want to invite your friends. So if you have a person who you just think, wow, they would benefit from being on this journey with me, please share the link with them. We'd love to have them. And if there's anyone you know that's interested, both Forrest and I would be delighted to have a 15-minute discovery conversation with them, just bringing them up to speed and discovering what they might get out of this, and seeing if it's a good fit for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Appreciate you all. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Likewise, for sure.
Okay, until next time.
Yes. We'll see you on, right?
See you when?
Friday? Is it
Yes.
this Friday? Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Are you on Clubhouse, Hardy?
Am I on Clubhouse?
Yeah. Are you on there yet?
I guess not. I would know if I
get
am.
an invitation. Yes. So message me if you'd like, and I'll send you a link, because it's an invite only app, and I have an invitation that I can give you. So message me and I'll send you the link, and then once you're in the app, then you can come on Friday, and I'll go to all sorts of events. It's a whole world. It's a whole universe you can get to know.
Just for a quick example of weird ways things are unfolding in these inquiries, I just got a Venmo for $108, and someone said, "Inspired micro investment in the sustainable and innovative ideas you and your team are inviting here. Keep up the awesome work, Forrest and Mira."
All right.
That's not it's not a traditional source of funding.
Oh my gosh!
That's amazing.
That mountain is blowing up.
Yeah.
Wow. 108. That's a great number too. How fun.
All
Anyway.
right.
Awesome. So amazing seeing you both all, and so great to meet you, Lexington.
Nice to meet you too.
Likewise.
To be continued. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.